kids. They grow up so fast. One day they're taking their first steps, and the next, they don't fit into the tiny sneakers they took them in. You blink your eyes and their princess dress is 2 sizes too small, and their dinosaur backpack isn't cool anymore. But don't cry because they're growing up. Smile, because you can profit off of it. For real, there are a bunch of parents on Depop looking for the stuff your kid just grew out of. Download Depop to start selling.
We are
Cultivate.
Cultivate.
We are Cultivate.
Hello and welcome to Ye Olde Crime, where we discuss the funny, strange, and obscure crimes of yesteryear. I'm your host, Lindsay Valenti, and joining me today is my sister and co-host, Maddie Savage.
Hello.
Hello. Because this is our first episode of the month, we are going to be shouting out our Buy Me a Coffee sustainers. So once again, thank you to our friends Charlie, Elizabeth, Sarah, Cheryl, Mariam, June, and Shinifer.
Thank you so much.
And if you would also like to support us on a monthly or a one-time basis, head over to buymeacoffee.com/Ye Olde Crime Podcast, all one word. There's a link. There's a link in the show notes. I don't remember what the URL is, but it's in the show notes. So if you want to, if you feel so inclined, we're not going to say no thank you. So there's that. This week, we're going to go down a road we haven't been down in a while as we discuss Johnny Ringo.
Okay. A fairly innocuous sounding name.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll know where we're going as I go through the list of the following sources. A 2025 True West article by Bob Bosbell, 2024 All That's Interesting article by Daniel Rennie, 2024 History Net article by Doug Hawking, 2024 Lubbock Avalanche Journal article by Ken Bridges, 2024 Old West article by Joseph A. Williams, 2023 State 48 A to Z post, 2022 EBSCO article by Alvin K. Benson, 2019 Cactus Atlas article by Glenn, 2018 True West blog post, 2016 King FM article by Rick Rodham, 2009 The Wild West blog post, Atlas Obscura, Factual America article, Find a Grave bio by Donald Grayfield, National Park Service article, Southern Arizona Guide article by James Gressinger, Texas State Historical Association article by Dave Johnson, and Wikipedia.
All right.
Special thanks to Carrie Ann for her research assistance on this episode, and links to all of these articles will be included in the show notes.
Nice.
Want to be social with us? You can see pics from this week's episode, bonus content, and funny memes on X at Ye Olde Crime Pod, or on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube at Ye Olde Crime Podcast.
Speaking of YouTube, we have a special playlist just for our Can You Crack the Cramp Word segments with our guest podcasters to see who can correctly guess the meaning of some obscure Victorian slang terms. If that's your thing, check it out.
It's July 13th, 1882, near Goodrich Ranch in Sulphur Springs Valley, Arizona, in the Chiricahua Mountains, and a single gunshot rings out at 3 p.m. It wouldn't be until the next day that a horrifying discovery would be made, sparking one of the biggest mysteries of the Wild West.
Nobody checked it out from 3 p.m. to the next day?
Nope.
Okay.
The man at the center of this mystery is John Peter Ringo. I said his name wrong earlier. It's John Peter Ringo, not Ringo, Ringo.
Okay.
Better known by his outlaw name of Johnny Ringo.
Okay.
Johnny was born on May 3rd, 1850, in Greens Fork, Indiana. The eldest of 5 children, born to Dutch immigrants Martin and Mary Ringo.
Okay.
His siblings include Martin Jr., born in 1854, Fanny, born in 1857, Mary Jr., born in 1860, and Mattie Bell, born in 1862.
Is it M-A-T-T?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, he was also the cousin of the infamous Younger and James brothers of the James Younger Gang. Another Wild West tie-in.
Crime family-ish.
Kind of. Johnny and his farming family moved to Gallatin, Missouri in 1858, where he was able to attend school, but he would ultimately only receive an elementary school education.
Fair. I feel like that's typical during that time in that area.
Well, especially if you're a farming family.
Yeah. Just enough knowledge to be able to operate, but then the rest, you need to go back home and work. You need to actually till the land and maintain the animals and all that.
At some point in his childhood, his father contracted tuberculosis. And he decided to pack up the family to move to the drier climate of San Jose, California, believing as they did at the time that drier air.
Choice. Yeah.
So the Ringo family joined a wagon train in Liberty, Missouri, and during the 5-month journey on the California Trail in the summer of 1864, misfortune befell the family.
I imagine several. That doesn't sound like a very good time at all.
Yeah. Johnny himself sustained a serious foot injury, and he also witnessed the murder of another member of the train on July 29th when their wagon was attacked by members of the Cheyenne people.
They just killed one of them? Or maybe maimed a bunch of others?
He witnessed at least one person being murdered, but I think up to 3 people were shot, if I remember the article correctly, but at least one of them died.
Dang.
However, the worst bit of misfortune took place on July 30th when his father was shot and killed as a result of an accidental shotgun misfire while stepping out of the family wagon.
That is so unfortunate.
As it was described in the Liberty Tribune in lurid detail, quote, his shotgun went off accidentally in his hands, the load entering his right eye and coming out at the top of his head.
Oh my God.
At the report of his gun, I saw his hat blow up 20 feet in the air, and his brains were scattered in all directions, end quote.
Yeah, that would have, oh my God, that would have been horrific. Half of his face would have been gone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Oh.
Another eyewitness reported, quote, I never saw a more heartrending sight, and to see the distress and agony of his wife and children was painful in the extreme. Mr. Ringo's death cast a gloom over the whole company, end quote.
Well, yeah. And they were all moving there for him. So now that he's dead, they can't just go back and get their farm. They have to keep going. How soon was this into their 5-month journey?
I don't know.
I'm hoping it wasn't.
Wait, it was July 30th. So I want to say a couple months into their journey.
Jeez. Heartbreaking.
They ended up burying him alongside the trail outside of Glen Rock, Wyoming. Mary noted in her trail journal, quote, if I had no children, how gladly would I lay me down with my dead, end quote.
I bet. Losing a spouse now is devastating, right? I don't discount that at all. But losing a spouse then, in that scenario, there are no roads, there's no, it is the Wild West. You're now alone, a single mom.
With 5
kids.
children, the youngest of which is 2.
Yep, super vulnerable, already vulnerable in general for the trip, even more vulnerable now. You don't know what your future is going to be without a man on the other side of this. Horrible. Yeah, I'd want to die too. I'd want to be take me with you. It's a lot.
As you can imagine, The sudden death of his father from a tragic accident left Johnny traumatized, as well as the man of the household at the age of 14.
Oh, that's such a bad age for that too, because they really feel that sense of responsibility.
Mm-hmm. When Johnny and the rest of his family arrived in San Jose in October of 1864, they stayed with his aunt and uncle, Coleman and Augusta Younger, on their ranch before moving into the village proper. During their time there, Johnny worked as a farmer to help support the family, and between 1864 and 1870, not a whole lot is documented about his life, but there are claims that he was a bit of a drunken delinquent.
I mean, how can you not at that time?
I would be too, right?
Yeah, I don't know. In a place where there's nothing and there's no rules and everybody's out for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That environment kind of breeds that type of person. Whether they attract it or breed it, it exists.
At the age of 19 in 1869, Johnny left home, ending up in Mason County, Texas, where he joined the Scott Cooley gang. His sisters would later attest that Johnny didn't leave the family homestead until sometime between 1870 and early 1871, when he left San Jose as part of a harvesting team. So again, part of farming.
So he's trying to do right for himself.
Yes.
Getting on the up and up.
Johnny had his first brush with the law on April 14th, 1875, when he was indicted for disturbing the peace in Burnett, Texas, after discharging a firearm in a public square. After posting the $150 bond, or $4,400 today.
Dang. Oh, man. They were not messing in Texas then either.
He was free to go, but this wouldn't be the last time Johnny ended up on the wrong side of the law. Johnny took part in the Mason County, quote-unquote, Hoodoo War, end quote, in central Texas, a conflict between American-born and German settlers over cattle ownership that started on May 13, 1875, when Tim Williamson was arrested and murdered by Peter Bader, a German farmer.
Arrested and then murdered? Hanged or something?
Yeah, lynched.
Dang. You really don't hear a lot of that kind of conflict.
Yes. So this conflict would go on for a couple years, but it was a really big deal.
I'm sure it was awful. I'm sure it was nasty because cattle would have been big money,
it's
ranching
life or
in
death.
general.
Yeah.
This is their livelihoods for their families and stuff. So yeah, they'd probably be absolutely awful about it.
Yeah. And this kind of took place between native-born Americans and recent German immigrant settlers over Texas, the Mexico border, but that was kind of the area in which this war took place. Johnny didn't join the fight for the noble cause of fighting over cattle rights. He joined to get revenge for the killing of his friend Moses Baird and the severe wounding of his friend George Gladden.
What did they do? What happened with them?
So both men had been bamboozled into riding into Mason by a well-known gambler by the name of James Chaney. When they entered the town, they were ambushed by Mason County Sheriff John Clark.
Why?
Because they were cattle rustlers.
So it was kind of like a turf?
It was kind of like a double cross.
Thing?
It was a double cross.
Wow. Ugh.
So Johnny and a man named Bill Williams killed James Chaney on September 25th, 1875, after separating from a group of men who intended to avenge the murder of Moses. So there was a posse of about 7 people that were like, we're going to go find this guy for sending our pals in the path of the lawman.
Yeah.
The pair would go on to brag to the rest of the party over breakfast about killing James while he was washing his face in a basin on his porch. Johnny would be noted as one of the fastest guns in the West following the Mason County conflict. We're just getting started, girl.
I know we are, because this is like, I know it's going to escalate. There's just no way it's not.
Yeah.
It's already so high. I just can't.
Johnny and former Texas Ranger Scott Cooley, who he hooked up with at the start of the war, were tried and convicted for threatening to kill the sheriff and deputy of Burnett County and for disturbing the peace in March of 1876.
They must have been really blatant getting convicted of that.
Yeah, I think they did another one of those shoot 'em ups in the town square, and we're like, we're gonna kill those guys. And people were like, oh shit.
And then when it came to it, there were a crowd of people that all heard it.
Yep.
Could recite it verbatim.
Fearing their friends would bust them out, the pair were moved to a prison in Austin. The pair were moved once more to stand trial in Lampasas County, and they would subsequently appeal their sentence because it was a guilty verdict. They didn't have to wait until their retrial in 1877, but they would break out of the Travis County Jail in May of 1876, thanks to some of their friends, as the lawmen predicted.
Yeah, but why work so hard on an appeal if you're just going to break out and make it worse?
I don't think they knew they were going to be broken out until they were broken out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And unfortunately for Scott, he would pass away the following month in June of 1876. Of what? I don't know. I'm assuming he was murdered in some fashion because it was the Wild West.
Right. Honestly, it could have been dysentery, you know?
It could have been anything. Snake bite? Who knows?
Oh, yeah. A rattlesnake.
There's a snake in my boot. Johnny would go on to be captured on October 31st, 1876, by local lawmen and Texas Rangers, and ended up back in jail at the state prison in Austin, Texas. On Halloween, no less.
Dang.
While incarcerated, he was indicted for the murder of James Chaney and stayed in prison for the next 2 years before he was freed on May 15, 1878, after witnesses to the crime refused to testify at his trial. So people who overheard him saying, yep, I killed him, and people who were in the area were like, we're good. We saw nothing.
No, I was actually turned around the whole time. I was facing east. They were shouting west.
They were in the west, and
there's nothing I could do, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. The wind wasn't blowing that day, didn't carry the sound. I don't know.
After the charges were dropped, Johnny was surprisingly elected as the constable of precinct number 4 at Loyal Valley in Mason County in November of 1878.
Wait, I suppose they wouldn't have any of those other little mini laws of if you're convicted of a crime ever,
you can't serve in public office. Yeah.
You can't serve in public office of that level. Yeah.
Yeah. And he had this really weird brief stint where he was in local politics and in law enforcement. It was the weirdest thing. It was it spanned.
But doesn't that kind of check out with some of these super boisterous, not narcissistic, outlaw dudes just doing it because they can?
It was over the span of 6 months, and then he was done. He's I'm good.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. So a year later, in 1879, he moved to the Arizona Territory, where he would live for the remainder of his life.
All right.
Johnny's life in Arizona wasn't lawful by any means. People described him as a moody loner who was a heavy drinker. There are even reports that he would quote Shakespeare from time to time, which contradicts the notion that he just had an elementary school education.
But you continue to learn in life. He could still, if he learned how to read, he could continue to read.
Yeah. And some people believe that he just enjoyed reading.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, we do exist. People who like to read, yeah.
Well, and there were a lot of like traveling plays and stuff, so it's entirely possible he went and saw an extremely
Well,
low
yeah,
budget
just think of
Shakespeare play. Like,
yeah, all of the entertainment. Like there would definitely be something at like fairs or like county days or something.
a tavern somewhere. Like stuff
Yeah.
happened. It's not like there was no entertainment outside of sex work. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
there was things to do. Anyway, over the course of his time in the Wild West, he would become friends with men such as Ike Clanton, Frank Stillwell, William Curly Bill Brocious, and Cochise County Sheriff Johnny Behan. Behan? One of those.
I don't know.
In 1879, Johnny moved to Cochise County, Arizona with his friend Joseph Graves Olney, whom he met during the Mason County War of 1875 to 1877, the one that we discussed at the top.
War buddies, yep.
War friends. He first settled in Tombstone, Arizona, where he worked on a ranch.
Nice.
He wound up back in trouble after he shot and injured a man named Lewis Hancock during a gunfight in Safford, Arizona, on December 14th of 1879, with some sources saying he did it because Lewis refused to drink whiskey with him, instead wanting to drink beer.
Yeah, I would have shot him too.
Lewis survived the gunshot wound to his gut, which is impressive.
Yeah. Damn.
He was like, "You want a free shot?" And the guy was like, "No, I like beer." And he was like, "Well,
here's a shot anyway."
Here's a different kind of shot, sir.
Mm-hmm.
At another time, in the same location in Safford, while intoxicated, Johnny heard a man insulting a woman on the street. In response, he marched up to the man, pistol whipped him, then shot him dead through the neck.
Okay.
He also held up a poker game at gunpoint so he could pocket the $500 pot, or around $16,000 today, after other poker players refused to loan him money so he could keep playing with them.
So he just robbed him blind and left.
Yeah. He was like, "Well, screw you guys then. I'm just going to take it all.
I don't want to play anymore. I'm just going to take all the money and go." Could you imagine? Like you go to somebody else's house or something and be like, "I hate it here. I'm going to take all the snacks."
And I'm going to go. Screw you guys.
I'm going to leave. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Johnny quickly gained a bad reputation in Tombstone due to his temper and his supposed affiliation with an outlaw group known as the Cochise County Cowboys, who were notorious cattle rustlers, thieves, and, to no one's surprise, murderers.
Well, based on what we've learned with the cattle business, kind of comes with the business.
That's kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
When he refused to appear in March 1880 before a grand jury for the shooting of Lewis, a warrant was issued for his immediate arrest. Johnny fled to New Mexico and Texas, and during his flight from the law, it is reported that he took part in the robbery of a Mexican mule train on August 1st of 1881, before he was brought to Tombstone to stand trial for the poker incident.
So he was just really busy.
He was so busy.
He was so busy.
It was later that year, on October 26th of 1881, that Johnny's lifelong grudge against Wyatt Earp, his brothers Virgil and Morgan, and Doc Holliday was born after they killed some of his close friends at the OK Corral in Tombstone. So that famous gunfight from that movie that you guys watched, yeah, he wasn't there, but some of his friends were, and they got murdered.
Damn.
He also blamed Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday for starting the rumor about the stage robbery that he supposedly did in Mexico.
The rumor. Yeah.
The rumor.
Now that they're dead, it's a rumor now.
Well, they weren't dead, but he was saying that they started the rumor. Johnny would go on to challenge Doc to a gunfight on January 17th, 1882, but the lawmen of Tombstone stopped the fight before it could even take place.
Aww.
Months later, Morgan Earp was murdered on March 17th, and many people believe that Johnny was involved, although it was never proven.
Oh. Morgan, wife, son, daughter?
Morgan, brother of Wyatt Earp.
Brother.
Now, Doc's common-law wife, Big Nose Kate, painted an interesting picture of Johnny when she wrote the following. Quote, Ringo was a fine man any way you look at him. Physically, intellectually, morally. He was 6 feet tall, rather slim in build, although broad-shouldered, medium fair as to complexion, with gray-blue eyes and light brown hair. His face was somewhat long. He was what might be called an attractive man. His attitude toward all women was gentlemanly. He must have been a gentleman born. Sometimes I noticed something wistful about him, as if his thoughts were far away on something sad. He would say, "Oh well," and sigh. Then he would smile, but his smiles were always sad. There was something in his life that only he himself knew about. He was always neat, clean, well-dressed, showed that he took good care of himself. He never boasted of his deeds, good or bad, a trait I have always liked in men. John was a loyal friend, and he was noble, for he never fought anyone except face to face. Every time I think of him, my eyes fill with tears. End quote.
How sad.
So even though he didn't like Doc and Doc didn't like him, Kate liked him. She thought he was a good guy.
Just a sad one.
Yeah, just a sad guy. Johnny eventually returned to Arizona in May of 1882, where he spent weeks drinking heavily. Residents in Tombstone and nearby Gallyville reported seeing Johnny in a depressive state while severely intoxicated. During an encounter with the editor of the Tombstone Weekly Epitaph, Sam Purdy, Sam noted, quote, he said he was as certain of being killed as he was of being living then. He said he might run along for a couple of years more and may not last 2 days, end quote.
So he kind of had a feeling he was going to die soon.
Yep. On July 4th, Johnny got properly wasted during the Independence Day celebrations before leaving Tombstone a few days later after sobering up with a couple of bottles of whiskey for the road.
Yeah.
A few days later, Deputy Billy Breckenridge encountered Johnny near Dials Ranch in the southern pass of the Dragoon Mountains. Billy would go on to note the encounter, quote, it was shortly after noon. Ringo was very drunk, reeling in the saddle, and said he was going to Gallyville. It was in the summer and a very hot day. He offered me a drink out of a bottle half full of whiskey, and he had another full bottle. I tasted it and it was too hot to drink. It burned my lips. Oof. Knowing that he would have to ride nearly all night before he could reach Gallyville, I tried to get him to go back with me to the Goodrich Ranch and wait until after sundown, but he was stubborn and went on his way. I think this was the last time he was seen alive, end quote.
Yeah. If he's drinking hot whiskey, riding off into the sunset.
Yeah.
I don't think, he's not really looking for anything long term.
Yeah. This brings us back to July 13th, 1882, where our story began. The following day, Johnny's body was found by teamster James Yost, who was driving through Turkey Creek Canyon. Johnny's body was seated on a large rock at the base of a grouping of 5 blackjack oak trees, suffering from what many classified as a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the side of his head. His body had already turned black from the heat of the desert, and the coroner believed that he had been dead for 24 hours when he was discovered. Within 15 minutes of the discovery of Johnny's body, a coroner's jury of 11 men was on the scene. Johnny was in a seated position against the tree, and, quote, he was dressed in a light hat, blue shirt, vest, pants, and drawers. On his feet were a pair of hose and an undershirt torn up so as to protect his feet, end quote. A .45 caliber Colt .222 rifle was in his right hand. His boots were off, and his rifle cartridge belt was on upside down. His feet were wrapped in strips of his undershirt for protection, but they were clean.
Interesting.
Quote, an undernoted property was found with him and on his person. 1 Colt's revolver, caliber .45, number .222, containing 5 cartridges. 1 Winchester rifle octagon barrel, caliber .45, model 1876, number 21,896, containing a cartridge in the breech and 10 in the magazine. 1 cartridge belt containing 9 rifle cartridges, 1 cartridge belt containing 2 revolver cartridges, 1 silver watch of American Watch Company, number 9339, with silver chain attached, $2.60 in money, or around $83 today, 6 pistol cartridges in pocket, 5 shirt studs, 1 small pocket knife, 1 tobacco pipe, 1 comb, 1 block matches, 1 small piece tobacco. There's also a portion of a letter from Messrs. Herford and Zabriskie, attorneys at law, Tucson, to the deceased, John Ringo, end quote. In the coroner's report, it was noted, quote, he, Ringo, had evidently traveled but a short distance in his footgear. There was a bullet hole in his right temple and an exit wound at the back of his head. The fatal wound was upward at a 45-degree angle between the right eye and ear. His revolver was still in his right hand, end quote.
No.
Johnny's horse was found 11 days later, roughly 2 miles from Johnny's remains. Quote, his saddle was still upon him, with Ringo's coat upon the back of it. In one of the pockets were 3 photographs and a card bearing the name of Mrs. Jackson, who was Ringo's sister, end quote. Johnny was 32 at the time of his death, and the coroner had him buried a few feet away from where his body was found, as it was starting to stink.
Yeah, in the hot July in Texas or Arizona.
In Arizona,
wherever.
yeah.
In Arizona, absolutely. Oh my God.
Yeah.
If there was anything left, the animals didn't eat him?
Nope.
Crazy.
Now, speculation abounds regarding the suicide theory. It has to do with the number of cartridges left in the gun. There were 5 rounds left. The lack of powder burns on his head, and the position of his hat on his head. Quote, a part of the scalp was gone, and part of the hair. This looks as if cut out by a knife, end quote. Now, those in favor of the suicide theory note that he had a history of threatening to end his life. He also suffered from an abnormal fear of being killed, and although many brushed off this as just paranoia on his part, it doesn't mean that there weren't people out there who had thoughts about killing him.
Right. Well, and the fact that he died so similarly to his father's accidental death.
Mm-hmm.
Like the shot going so close to his eye.
In 1934, Robert Bowler, a member of the coroner's jury, noted of Johnny's corpse, quote, I showed James Yost where the bullet had entered the tree on the left side. Blood and brains were oozing from the wound and matted his hair. There was an empty shell in the 6-shooter, and the hammer was on that. I called it a suicide 52 years ago. I am still calling it suicide. I guess I'm the last of the coroner's jury, end quote. So this was many years later.
Yeah.
It sounds like the area in which Johnny was found was an isolated bit of the wilds of Arizona, but in fact it was the exact opposite. The grove of trees where he was sitting was located on the banks of the Upper Turkey Creek on the road to Gallyville. This road was frequented by those who worked at the nearby pinery and sawmill, and in fact several people saw Johnny's body on the 13th and earlier on the 14th, but assumed it was just someone taking a nap.
Yeah. I suppose that makes sense, especially if it's on like a well-traversed road. Mm-hmm. If they're under a tree and it's hot and it's in the middle of summer, yeah, somebody might be taking a nap.
There are theories that Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday had a part in Johnny's death, and this theory is one of the most popular due to their feud. In fact, Doc claimed credit for the deed, but it wouldn't have been possible considering he was in court in Pueblo, Colorado on July 11th, 2 days before.
Well, even if they did his gang routinely take trophies like pieces of scalp or hair?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And Wyatt Earp was a lawman.
Yeah.
If we want to assume it was murder, consider the following scenario. Johnny had been on a bender and was traveling through the desert. Both he and his horse would have needed to stop for water, and with the creek right there, it made perfect sense to stop. It's possible that at this point, Johnny took off his boots to rest his feet in the water while his horse stopped to drink. Suppose that something spooked the horse, and it ran off with Johnny's boots. He wouldn't have dared to chase it barefoot, given the terrain, so he stopped to undress so he could use his undershirt as makeshift shoes until he could catch up with it.
Yeah.
The grove of trees was at the top of a slope from the creek. It's possible that while he was undressing, he heard a noise, grabbed his pistol, and at the same time, someone shot him from below, likely from some distance, hitting him at the temple with the bullet exiting from the top of his head. He could have then had his body staged as if he was asleep, with the killer taking a section of Johnny's scalp as a sort of macabre trophy or proof.
Yeah. Because the fact that he had so many other things on him too is weird. Like, nobody took the money. Nobody took, like, if anything, like the bullets, like the ammunition would have been far more valuable.
Well, and his rifle was like propped up against the tree next to him.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. He had a lot of stuff that people would have just taken.
Yeah. Other supposed killers of Johnny include Wyatt Earp, Lou Cooley, who was a friend of Wyatt's, Buckskin Frank Leslie, who supported Wyatt, and Johnny O'Rourke, who owed a debt to Wyatt. So a lot of people that were connected to Wyatt Earp. Following his death, Johnny's remaining family, his mother had passed away several years earlier in 1876, disowned him and refused to confirm or deny any of the stories surrounding his life after he left San Jose. They were like,
washed their hands of him.
Yep. Johnny's life story has been written about and adapted into several books, television shows, and movies, but the true nature of his life has never been fully confirmed. He's been romanticized and categorized as one of the deadliest outlaws of the American Southwest. And in fact, he became a popular figure in a number of westerns during the late 1950s and early 1960s. You can still visit the grave of Johnny Ringo today in Cochise County. Although located on private property, there is a gate on a nearby road that allows visitors to view the gravesite. A historic plaque at the site reads as follows, quote, Johnny Ringo. The remains of this noted gunman and outlaw lie here. A teamster traveling from West Turkey Creek found the body sitting in the fork of a nearby oak tree with a bullet hole in the right temple. A coroner's jury reported the death to be suicide, and Ringo was buried on the spot. There were others who viewed the body and maintained that the July 13th, 1882 death of Ringo was murder, end quote. And that is the unsolved mystery of the life and death of Johnny Ringo.
What a sad story. But, like, again, for people who just, like, really want to experience that life, do you? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because none of that sounds great.
No.
Like, you get land, sure, maybe, if somebody just doesn't quite literally come and kill you for it or take it from you. And, like, you're taking other people's land. Like, the land wasn't yours to take, and I don't know.
Yeah.
All the illness and no.
If you love the show, the best way to support us is to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Good Pods, CastBox, Podcast Addict, and or Audible. Links to all of these are in our show notes, or if you're already listening on one of these platforms, you know what to do.
Oh, and while you're at it, shoot us a question you'd like to hear us answer on the pod. We'll give you a special shout out and address your burning questions all at the same time. The weirder, the better. Submit them via link in our show notes or shoot them to us in our DMs.
We'd love to hear from you, and there's a couple of ways you can reach out to us. You can email us at yeoldecrimepodcast@gmail.com, where you can send us story ideas, share any spooky stories you may have, fun gifts, or even just to say hello.
You can also reach out to us via snail mail. Remember mail? Our mailing address is Ye Olde Crime Podcast, P.O. Box 341, Wyoming, Minnesota 55092. Fun fact, we like to send out thank you cards with fun stickers you can't get at our shop, so it's worth the cost of a stamp.
Well, I don't have any listener questions this week. So on that note, what is something good you'd like to share?
Well, we don't have a sick house anymore, so that's always good.
That is good.
Yeah, it's really hard to think of something good the last couple of weeks. I went on a date with my husband for the first time in a really long time.
That's awesome.
This past weekend. We rarely kind of gift ourselves that opportunity to like do something nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually went to like a sushi restaurant, sat down.
Ooh.
Didn't have any dogs with us, didn't have any kids or anything, and it was nice. What about you?
So we've been very busy with snowboarding competitions with my youngest. But this past weekend, I took my youngest to go see the Stray Kids Dominate tour experience in a movie theater.
Nice. How was it?
It was awesome. I am a fan. I am a stay.
I like their songs. I don't know if I can watch them sing and dance for long periods of time, but I do enjoy their songs.
She fell asleep halfway through. I think both my girls don't realize how long concerts are. Like, it was almost 3 hours. And she did fall asleep for part of it, which is insane considering how loud it was and how loud the
How
people
loud
that
and
were
like the lights and like
Well, and it's a movie, but there are people that are watching it are also like singing along and like
oh,
commenting and
cute.
stuff. So it was like a whole experience.
Yeah.
And
Fun. It's so cute that she fell asleep.
she fell asleep for a little bit, yeah. I will say I do want to shout out the people who are part of like the Minnesota K-pop Connect community. The other people that went and saw the movie with us were extremely sweet, and some of them were handing out, like bias cards and other things to like people, and I thought that was extremely sweet, and it's just a really wholesome community, which was really nice to see given kind of what's been going on. And so it was nice to be part of something wholesome like that. So I appreciate it. If you happened to go to an outing this past weekend, I hope you had a good time because it was really fun. So yeah, that's my something good, is just being able to have that kind of experience with her without having to like be in an actual concert audience setting, because those can be very extremely anxiety inducing, especially for something like this.
Yes.
But being able to like
And overwhelming. Yeah, I can't imagine being in the stadium.
Yeah, like sensory overload
experiencing it.
for sure. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And apparently they're going to be going on tour again this year. So
Yeah, aren't they set to have like another album or something? Probably.
and I think the closest they would get to us would be Chicago. But chances are we will not get tickets because it's probably going to be insane.
Yeah.
But you never know. Stranger things have happened. So
It's true.
So yeah.
Well, cool. Sounds like a good time.
It was a good time. Shall we?
Let's do it.
We wouldn't be here without support from listeners like you. If you're interested in supporting us financially, you can leave a one-time or monthly donation over on Buy Me a Coffee or our Venmo page. Links are in the show notes. And we make a point of reaching out to send you a thank you note and stickers to show our appreciation.
Want to show your support in a more concrete way? Pick up some Yield Crime merch over at our TeePublic shop. We shout out whenever there is a sale each month, and we work to make sure we're creating new designs and changing it up whenever possible. And hey, thanks for listening.
And on that note, as always, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Madison.
And we'll see you next time with another tale
as old as crime.